Hi booktubers, I'm Debs. Welcome back to my channel, Raina Read Stuff. I'm here in the book shack. It's getting a bit cold out here now. It's a good job I've got heating put in. This is a late again for the second week running reading wrap up that I should have done yesterday. Um, I've been doing lots of things this week, so the reading has taken a slight backseat, but I've still got through some books and I'm going to tell you about them. As I mentioned in last week's reading wrap up, I am taking part in Victober, in Occult Detective October, in October, and also in Historathon, which I've been taking part in all year. So let's start this week with Occult Detective October. Two I've read this week, and this week's prompt, I'm saying this week again, aren't I? I mean last week. Last week's prompt was post 1960. So the first one I read was a book by R.W. Wallace. I can't get the image up. Hold on. Oh, I'm so unprepared. I'm so sorry. Right. This one isn't going to show me the cover. That's very annoying. So, let's see it here. It's there. This one at the top here. R.W. Wallace, Beyond the Grave. I liked the premise of this one. So this was about two ghosts. And the ghosts are haunting a cemetery from which they can't leave. They've both been dead roughly 30 years, and there is obviously some unfinished business, which means they haven't moved on. One is called Clotilde, and she was put into the grave first. She has a gravestone that just says Clotilde. It doesn't say her surname, it doesn't say birth date, death date, or anything. And she is exhumed. In the process of her exhumation, they find another coffin, and the coffin is that of a police officer Roberts, who nobody knows was put into that grave. He's been buried secretly and illegally in the same grave as Clotilde. When they're exhumed, they're watching the exhumation, they're standing there watching. They find that the police officer, who has been called in to investigate a series of suicides that are now believed to be murders, is very sensitive to ghosts, so they can talk and influence her. They're taken to the morgue, and a post-mortem is undertaken on both of them. And there's a couple of bones of Clotilde's little finger loose. And they persuade the police officer to put one of the bones in her pocket. And then they also persuade her, whilst they're trying to get PC Robert, I don't know if it's PC actually, anyway, trying to get his bones in a body bag, for her to take one of his little fingers as well. And they can choose to follow whichever part of their body. They can't, the reason they can't leave the cemetery is because they can't go beyond a certain distance from their body. But the police officer now has finger bones. So they can choose to follow the police officer as long as she keeps the finger bones with her, or follow the rest of their bodies. Obviously, they go with the police officer. And what they're trying to do is investigate their own deaths. And like I say, they find the police officer is very susceptible to their suggestions. So they suggest that she keeps the bones with her at all times, and she makes them into some weird sort of bracelet, which she feels compelled to wear at all times, so they can follow her during the investigation. Now, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed um, the premise of it. My only problem was I didn't realise it was the first book in a series. So, by the end of this book, we have solved the police officer's murder. He knows how he died. We know that someone is on trial for raping other suicide victims, and Clotilde also had the same DNA inside her, but we haven't solved Clotilde's murder. And all that is happening in book two. And I don't have book two, so I'm going to have to find it. Anyway, I liked it. It was good. The other one I read this week was one that I had of a guy called Ron Ripley. I had three. This one, I can get the cover up. Let's put it that way. It's called Barkley Street. In this one, the house is haunted. No, the house has consumed people. I nearly didn't read this. Within the first couple of pages, there was a derogatory term for an Asian shopkeeper that I don't enjoy and I find unnecessary. And I thought it hadn't added anything to the story. There was nothing about racism or anything else. And I nearly stopped and I thought, no, I'll carry on with it and see. And actually, there weren't any other offensive mentions of anything after that. The book follows follows a guy who was brought up in that house, and he saw ghosts in there. They appeared to him, and they appeared to his friends. They didn't initially appear to his parents, and they didn't believe him. Eventually, he goes off to the Marines, and on the day that he is graduating from the Marines, his parents are meant to come to his passing out ceremony, and they don't turn up, and they're never seen again. And police go to the house and find their car keys and their wallets and everything packed and ready to go, but there's absolutely no trace of them. And the house is boarded up, and the son carries on with his life. His aunt and uncle decide that they want the house, even though it's been left to him. And it obviously takes a while to declare people who are missing dead. So that takes years. And then the lawsuit takes years. Eventually he wins. And this is 20 years after his parents have disappeared, and the house has been boarded up for all that time. And he goes back into it after he's taken legal possession of it. Now, this house has absorbed a number of people over the years who have come to a sticky end in that house. And there is a malevolent presence in the pond, in the back garden, and she kills people. She either drags them into the pond, or these ghosts appear to be able to attract people. And this is the child, who is now an adult, trying to find his parents and trying to figure out what's going on with the house. and I actually really enjoyed that as well. I hadn't read either author before. Um, I've got another couple of Ron Ripley ones that I will probably read during Occult Detective October, because let's face it, we're only halfway through, and the other guy, Wallace, I want them to solve Clotilde's death. They probably have, but I don't know what happened, and I need to know what happened. Okay, on to Edgar Allan Poe and October. Last week's last week's prompts for the short stories were The Pit and the Pendulum and Fall of the House of Usher. She says I've read a few more, so I can't remember which ones I was meant to read. Yeah. I've also read The Raven, which Poe, in the biography that I read of him the previous week, said was the best poem ever written. It's great. I love it. I love rereading them. Um, I love uh, the Pit and the Pendulum is quite eerie. Oh no, it wasn't The Fall of the House of Usher. It was Murders in the Rue Morgue. So, of the two, I think I prefer The Pit and the Pendulum because the Murders in the Rue Morgue sort of tests my boundaries of, I want to say believability, but there's an escaped orangutan. I mean, I'm not sure how seriously I can take that. I mean, they're brilliantly written, both of them, brilliantly written. And I love in the Murders in the Rue Morgue, I love the way the case is unravelled. It's very sort of Sherlock Holmes esque, only obviously it came first. Um, I love these. I'm really enjoying October, and I'm looking forward to. I haven't read this week's stories yet. Next week's poetry, um, but yeah, really enjoying these. I'll put incidentally all the information about the reading events down below, who's organising them, etc., etc. So for what are we on to? Victober. Victober. I went. One of the prompts was to read an author that was new to you. I went for George and Weedon Grossmith and the Diary of a Nobody, and I went for it because on the back it says the funniest book in the world, says Evelyn Waugh, and I like Evelyn Waugh, and I trust Evelyn Waugh to make good choices on reading matter. So I chose this, and it's great, absolutely great. Our nobody gets into all sorts of adventures. He lives with his wife. He has an older son. His son returns home to live with them and decides he's going to change his name to Lupin because he doesn't like the name William. Our hero is Charles Pooter, and it's his diary. There's copies of the original illustrations, which were done by Weedon Grossmith, and these stories first appeared in Punch along with the illustrations. It's really funny. He's trying to get, he tries to do all sorts of things and basically gets them wrong. He paints his bath with red enamel, goes to have a bath and all the enamel comes off and he comes out looking like a lobster. Um, it's well written, it's entertaining, and I whizzed through it and thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great. Sticking with Victober, we have Robert Louis Stevenson, Olalla. Olalla? It's one of the Penguin Little Black classics. It's about a guy who is wounded and sent. He needs to go into the country to get some country air and recuperate. And the only place that his doctor can find for him, he's found at the recommendation of a priest. It's right up high in the mountains, and a woman, her daughter, and her son live there. And he can go and stay in part of this villa as long as he doesn't communicate with the daughter or the mother, and he doesn't go into the rest of the house. He enjoys his walks in the countryside. He finds the sun a little strange. There's hints of vampirism in here, but it's never actually specifically mentioned. He does meet the daughter of the house, whose name is the Olalla, and it's almost but not quite a love story. It's good. I enjoyed it. And then I read The Night is Darkening Round Me by Emily Bronte. This is a small collection of poems, and they're quite mournful. What is it with the Victorian poets? The only ones I've read so far are really mournful. There are a few nature ones in here. You can see that she's very much inspired by the Yorkshire landscape around Haworth. There's a few about death. There's a few about grieving. And then there's more ethereal subjects like hope and imagination. I enjoyed reading them, but I really want to read a cheerful book of Victorian poetry, and I haven't found one yet. This wasn't it. The other thing I'm very much enjoying reading still is The Way We Live Now, and today took us, we're more than halfway now. We're up to, because I'm religiously following the plan, the schedule for reading this, so I am restricting myself to 3 chapters on a weekday and 4 chapters on each day of the weekend. So we're now up to chapter 54 and on page 409 of 762. So we've just gone halfway. But I'm loving the characters, and Trollope writes beautifully, and it's not inaccessible. It's not. Oh, it doesn't come across as old-fashioned. I mean, other than the fact that dress is described, and people go to their club and things like that. You know, if you accept the era, the wording doesn't come across as old-fashioned. It's a very complicated multi-person cast where there is intrigue over romance and intrigue over finances, and people have debts, and that someone has a lot of money, or do they? Can't wait to find out how it all goes. Now, as regards to Q4 of that Q4 of Historathon 2023, we are reading books about subjects between 1820 and now. I have started about halfway through A Woman of No Importance, about the American woman who was spying for the British in France in the Second World War. Her name was Virginia Hall. She was disabled. She had one leg because she'd accidentally shot herself in the leg. Um, she was one of the Special Operations Executive's top spies during the Second World War in France. And the Germans had her at the top of their hit list. She was the one they needed to catch because the woman was just incredible. And this is a really interesting and well researched book by Sonia Purnell about what she got up to and how she managed during the Second World War. And after the war, she went on to join the CIA. Incredible woman. Now, that's been it for my reading this week. I am going to get back into gear this week. One of the reasons that I have not read as much as I would normally read is because it was my birthday yesterday. And my family, so my two daughters, their partners, and my grandson, who is 5 months old, arrived for the weekend. We had a lovely weekend. I was 58, and one of the reasons that it's good to get older is you can just indulge yourself, can't you? So I thought a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to be 58. Shall I buy 58 books for my 58th birthday? And then I thought, no, 58 books is ridiculous. When you have all of these shelves that haven't been read, 58 books is ridiculous. Then my stepson presented me with 3 Killing Eve books. It's interesting, these, because it says the basis of the hit series, so I'm guessing that it is going to be different from the series that I enjoyed very much. My husband, because he knows that one of my favourite authors is P.G. Wodehouse, and in fact, it was also P.G. Wodehouse's birthday yesterday, bought me these. All P.G. Wodehouse, Meet Mr. Mulliner, The Man Upstairs and Other Stories, The Little Nugget, The Indiscretions of Archie, Dr. Sally, The Luck of the Bodkins, Uneasy Money, and The Heart of a Goose. So that's 11 books already. Then the family wanted to go charity shop hunting on Saturday, and we took them to a place where there just happens to be an Oxfam bookshop. So that was another 10. So we're up to 21 already. And then my mother, bless her, sent me some money. And I went onto the second-hand book website, World of Books, which I love. And there's another 16 books arriving. So already I'm up to 37 books. And people very generously presented me with, I think I've got something like £120 worth of Waterstone vouchers. So buying myself 58 books because I'm 58 doesn't seem that outrageous anymore, does it? It certainly doesn't seem that difficult. Wait and see. I sense a book buying spree coming on this week. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm sorry I'm a day late. I will start catching up and I will get round to doing my read around the world roundup. Shouldn't be too long. All the details of the books are going to be below. All the details of the events and the hosts and the co-hosts will also be below. Please like and subscribe. It would be lovely to chat. If you're taking part in any of these events, what are you reading? Are you enjoying it? Do you have any recommendations? Have you read any of the books that I'm reading? I will speak to you very soon. Thank you for watching. And that's about it for now. See you soon.